Okay, I'm going to show you how we make our homemade yogurt in 3 easy steps using the Instant Pot. It's a very easy process. A lot of it is just set it and forget it, and then you can just go on with your day between steps. So we'll get down right to it. The first step is just half a gallon of milk, and so this is our farm milk. You can use store-bought milk, 2% whole milk, just a half a gallon. And then I have my Instant Pot. Now I have prepared the inside stainless steel bowl in the Instant Pot. All you do is just add water, a few tablespoons of vinegar, and then set it to a saute setting to steam the inside just to sanitize. So anytime you're working with yogurt, you want to make sure you kill any of the bad bacteria because you don't want that to overtake the culture of the yogurt that you're putting in. So that has already been done. Another step when I make yogurt using the Instant Pot is I do not use the gasket. So since I'm not pressure cooking, that gasket in the inside is meant to create that seal for pressure cooking, and you don't have to have that for yogurt. It also holds a lot of flavors from maybe the last time, thing you cooked. So it's just best to take that out pairing. So the very first step that I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour the milk right directly in. And then I just had to put my lid on. And then down here it says yogurt. And I'm going to set it to boil. So I hit it twice. And then that boil is going to bring the milk up to 185. And that's a temperature just to bring your milk up to like a mild pasteurization. If you hold it at that 185, it makes a little bit of a thicker yogurt as well. But the Instant Pot does all of it. I don't have to do anything. It just boils, and then it'll say end when it's done, and then I'll tell you what the next step is. So we'll let this sit and do its thing, and we'll meet you back here. Okay, so I am ready for step number 2 in our 3-step yogurt making process. This boil cycle has ended. What I did was I actually opened this up, took out that stainless steel pot and put it in a bowl of cold water to let that temperature drop, because when it is done at that boil cycle, it's going to be around 185 degrees, even though it cools down. And so what I do then is you want it to come to 112, so that's 112 degrees when you add in your yogurt starter or your yogurt culture. So I cool that down that way. So for step number 2, we're ready to add our starter in. So I just take the lid off here. I have a yogurt starter that I had in the refrigerator I use. So I just scooped out 2 tablespoons in this little bowl, and I added a little bit of milk back to it. So that way it could thin out. So when I stir it in the milk, it's not going to clump, it's not going to stick together, and it'll help spread throughout, be more uniform, and give me a better yogurt. So I will just add that in. See, you can kind of hear there was a little more little chunks in there. So I'm just gonna scrape all that out. When I was adding that in, I circled the bowl around to make sure that it spread throughout, and then now I just stir it in. And when I stir, I'm stirring in zigzag circles. I stop and then stir the opposite way. And I do this just for about 30 seconds to make sure I've got all of it stirred in. Okay, that should be good. And now I just add my lid back on. And then I hit that yogurt button one more time. So I don't want to boil this time. I want to go to my yogurt setting. It's preset in a few different options. So this is a low fermentation, so it's set for 24 hours. I do not prefer that one, so we're actually going to cancel because it's trying to start. We're gonna go to the next one, and this says 8 hours, and I'm going to bump it down to 6 hours. Sometimes depending on what I want for our yogurt, I'll do an 8 or even a 12 hour, especially if I want to make more of like a sour cream. But this time I want to keep that sweet rather than a tart, tangy flavor. So I'm just doing a 6-hour fermentation on this. And there's no need to pressure cook or anything, so I just leave it on venting. It will cycle to its temperature that it needs to be, and it does everything. So I'll check back in about 6 hours and show you step number 3. Our yogurt has finished up. I went ahead and shut it off. So now I'm going to get ready to do our next step. This is the third and final step that I do for our yogurt, and it is optional if you did not want to do this step. So I will go ahead and show you what this optional step is. So I just open up my yogurt here. I'll show you what it looks like. There, it's really thick, it's nice. So what I like to do, this is already pretty thick, but if I stir that whey in, it's going to get much thinner of a yogurt. What I'm going to do for our third step is strain that liquid out. That liquid is the whey. And so I have a bowl prepared underneath my cloth. I have a bowl, a stainless steel bowl, just to catch the whey. And then I have a strainer or a colander. And then I like to use these flour sack towels over like a cheesecloth or anything else. So all I have to do for our third step is just dump this in. Nothing fancy. I'll wash it. I can already hear it in the strainer. So all I do is I just kind of fold the towel up on top of itself, and I'll pull it out so you can hear it and see it. So all of that is the liquid whey. And that's what's coming out of the yogurt that gives it that really thin. It can also give it a more of a sour taste. And so we just like to strain the whey out. I can use it for other things around the farm. And so I will let this strain out in the colander for about an hour. Any thicker than that, it does get very thick, almost to like it'll stick to the back side of the spoon. So we'll just let this sit, and then I can come back and put it in the jar and show you what that looks like. Okay, it has been probably about an hour or so. I've had this in the refrigerator because I want to cool it down so it kind of milds the flavor out a little bit. If I leave it out at room temperature, kind of like it was in the Instant Pot, it's going to keep that tangy fermented flavor. So I want to stop that and put it in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to put this in a jar and it'll be ready for us to eat. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I just use a regular wide mouth jar, funnel, and then I like to use a little ladle. And it's very thick. And I just scoop this out and put it right into the jar. And it does not stick to the cheesecloth. Oh, sorry, this is not cheesecloth. It does not stick to the towel at all. It just comes right off. The only thing that came through the towel was the whey. And so I'm just putting that right into my jar. I'll put the jar over here so you can see. Okay, and then I can show you the whey at the bottom of the bowl. Okay, so there's all of that whey. And if I wanted this to be a little more creamy of a yogurt, I could add in a little more milk. I could add in cream. But really, once we add like the toppings that we like to add into yogurt, whether it's granola or fruit, fresh fruit, a lot of times fruit purees, that will thin it out itself. So I'm just gonna leave this exactly how it is for us. I'll put this in the refrigerator and then let it sit for a few hours before we eat it. I always like to have our yogurt have a specific color of lid, so when anybody goes to the refrigerator, they know, yes, that's the yogurt rather than something else. So that is it. We can eat this later this afternoon, evening, tomorrow. And so that's our yogurt in 3 easy steps. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks.